What's up, everyone? We're here on another live episode of Street Topics. It's your host, Chris Holmes, as always, and I have my special guest by the name of
Jasim.
Awesome. Of course, we're going to hit on what's trending today, and that is, oh man, it's going to ruffle a lot of people's feathers. This president election is coming up, but also what just happened recently is how President Trump literally just won the Iowa caucus, I believe, and
Mhm.
basically won it by a landslide. So I want to start off with this kind of question. What do you think the American people are saying with this by itself, even though we are in the very beginning stages?
That's gonna be, that's a good question because there's a lot of discussions. You have people that's for, and you have people that's against. Um, but overall, I look at it as it's showing America who America really is on a
Mhm.
different level. What I mean by it is that it shows how when you are the dominant culture, you can get away with all kind of stuff and still press forward and not be held accountable. Still going through all these litigations and legal proceedings and things of that nature,
Which
but
is
still,
crazy among itself. I mean,
and you're
I,
still allowed to go. So that shows you our laws are flawed, and there's a lot of gap because we prefer being a democratic government, which I think I mentioned it before. There's a difference between being a democratic government, excuse me, and a republic. And the difference between the two is when you're a democratic government, you can change the laws to fix that works in your favor, not in the next person's favor, and it's an uneven playing field. But if you are a republic, like Texas once was a republic, and it looks like all these people coming from California and all these other places, they are trying to change it to the democratic. But as a republic, once the laws are in place, it fits everyone across the spectrum. And so I that's the part that I see on this situation. But I also see the fact that we are caught by trying to decide between the lesser of two evils.
and what
The,
exactly is the lesser of two evils, though?
the lesser of two evil is simple. Do we want DeSantos? You see what he has done in wanting to erase the history of minorities and the contribution of minorities and the worst of America. He wants to ignore it and try to change the narrative, like most dominant culture do, to make it appear and seem one way in another. My thought process is very simple. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And if you avoid trying to see what's right and you constantly do what's wrong, then you are doomed for failure. And that goes with this government. If they continue to do things in the manner that they're doing, this is the reason why we're having the issues that we're having now.
Okay, but let me go ahead and intervene on this. So I know what you basically said, like right is right and wrong is wrong. But in these past couple of years, it feels like everything has basically been flipped upside down. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna go back into the past thought process I had when it came to a person running for the president of the United States. I thought this person had be a person of good morals.
Mhm,
Um, you pretty much follow the laws. There was no
mhm,
a lot of contradicting things or allegations or anything like that onto you that would make you seem as a person not as of good reputation, but to represent the country.
mhm,
Now, in these past couple of years, it seems like everything has flipped, and
mhm,
it's to the point where no matter what any kind of past actions or accusations that has been placed upon you, you can still run as the president. And
mhm,
I understand, and I may need to do a little bit more research on that. There is laws placed into pretty much in place to make it run so like you won't have a lot of contradiction things. But now what I'm seeing is a lot of people are debating the words that are used in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights Amendments, and much more, basically swaying it to more of a modern times. People are basically saying, well, this means this and not that, and that means this and not this. And so it's like leaving loopholes, and now we're back in this back and forth debate, contradicting thing. And now we're into this situation where now it looks like no matter what kind of flaws or allegations that you may have in place of you, you can still run. Like, what does that mean or represent for us and to all the other countries that are probably watching as well? So that's like my thoughts going through my head.
Well, in response to that, the thought that I look at it, the way you presented it, is that we are doomed to fail. And the other countries look at the United States as a joke. Now, whether
A
people
joke
want to
for
accept
me.
that or not, they laugh at us behind our back. They look at us as a joke because look how we conduct ourselves. It's like you cannot take care of your business. In other words, if a man or woman cannot handle their home life and have it structured and have it to the point where it's running like a good oil machine, how in the hell can you run outside of that household? How can you go and run somebody else's house when your house is still messed up? How you
So
going to tell
so
someone else?
basically what you're saying, like the other countries are looking at America and being like, so you're trying to claim yourself as this great world power, but we're looking at the news of how you can't even have a basically a civilized a country run, and now you have all this contradicting affairs happening, and you're trying to tell us what to do or what is the right or moral right thing to do when we're looking right at what's happening in your own backyard.
Right. And that's exactly to for those that's listening and watching on your podcast, it's simple. Tupac said it. I believed it before there was a Tupac. When you watch a person long enough, their true nature comes out. So when their nature comes out, they reveal who and what they really are. But in the beginning, they were putting up a front. And because they putting up a front, you believed everything, and so that's what the country has done. But now people are getting wiser to that understanding. Let me watch and see what I need to see and not what I want to see. And so that's being revealed. Same thing with Trump. Trump is the same way where some people are seeing what they need to see and not seeing what they want to see. And this is where people start holding themselves accountable for why everything is so messed up. And now they're trying to hold others accountable. But as you stated, in the laws themselves, the way the founders wrote, and they're not my founders, because remember, we were brought over here as slaves. So they're not my founders. I didn't elect them. I didn't do all this other stuff, right? Neither of my ancestors did. So they wrote in a vague way when they wrote the Constitution. Everyone knew that.
And that's what I
Everyone
think
knows.
that is like allowing people to basically pick this thing apart, because like there's no way, and the original founders of this country could anticipate the things that happen in the present day of America today. And now you're having people literally taking their perspective and flip it into their own, I'm not going to lie, just be upfront about it,
Mhm,
selfish agendas to get their way across to the American people. And I
mhm.
believe that is what's causing such of a lash back and forth, is because the people are using their own perspective to get their own selfishness of what their own agenda across.
And I'm glad you used the word selfish because all of this that's going on is about people being selfish and not being held accountable. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Now, if he wins the election of being president, we still will be in a messed up situation for minorities. And I'm gonna put it out there. I don't care who's listening, who does not agree. I don't give a damn. But the point is, when you don't pay attention to the patterns, and a lot of American people, I would say about 99% of the American people do not pay attention to patterns because they don't study history, they don't study people. because they see what they want to see and not what they should be seeing.
And I'm definitely glad you brought this up because, like, the more and more that I'm digging into history, which I should have done a long time ago, I'm now really finding out how this country was really formed, the brutality and the basically how they use slaves carried across over here as tools and assets, and not to mention how this whole country was built off of slavery. Now that's going to be a really heated conversation that we're definitely going to get back on, like at another time. But it's just basically like gimme, 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 take, take, take. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of this, the assets, and let's not even forget what they. Well, I just use the modern term. African Americans were used as tools, assets. We weren't even considered citizens. They didn't even think we were like a regular human being, and not to mention of how we. Well, I'm not gonna say we, but Europeans basically took over and demolished all the native people of this land and forced a lot of different things and a democracy and much more to get across to what we see today. So let's not forget about that. But I want to stay on top of the subject at hand is that with all that said, we really need to pay attention of people's true intent because there's a lot of selfishness, greed, and power demanded coming out of this, as it has in the past couple of years, but going forward into this election.
Mm-hmm. It is, and I'm glad you mentioned a lot of what you've stated for us, the history and how the United States has gotten to the point from past to present, and there's more of that information, like the Moors. The Moors were actually blacks who actually were the first in America, but they took it out of the history book. But I
Of course.
digress. I digress. But if in this particular election, when when we had George Bush,
Hmm.
the second George Bush, right? When we were attacked, he was attacking in the purpose of selfishness. Why am I saying that? Because he knew that at one point when his father was president, there was a hit out on his father by folks in the Middle East. I just put it that way. So when this attacker, it justified his actions to attack when there was no biological chemicals
Of
anywhere.
course.
So he now, if you look at it, those people that have lost lives was lost lives based on a lie and on the fact that of revenge and being selfish. Now, this is a pattern of America. This is a pattern of people that we vote into position that will not push or allow their own kids to join the military to protect the country. And it's really not to protect the country, it's to protect the Constitution, not the people. And that's where people get that really fucked up, is because the military oath, if you look it up, it's about the Constitution, not about the people. You're just a byproduct of being protected, but it is not about that. And then the other thing in regards to this particular situation is that we continue to vote for the best liar. We have been lied to so
Over and
much
over
to
again.
the point where people are so damn dumb to the point where they prefer someone to lie to them than for someone to tell them the truth and hear the truth so then they can make a better sound decision of their lifetime. But because they want to be lied to so goddamn much, it's easy for a person to pass the blame or the accountability on another person. But what they so damn stupid and they don't realize is the accountability is still on you because you are old enough to walk around, do your research, read, and educate yourself without going off what somebody says, but going off what you have done, your thorough research behind someone that's credible. This is a
Absolutely.
problem and was
So
going to always be a problem.
it will continue to be. Let me see if I can roll this clip from YouTube about the trouble in the caucus. Let's see. Hopefully it loads up, but if not, we're still gonna continue discussion at hand. Let's see. And we're going to go to, here we go. And we're going to break it into pieces, y'all, if everything goes well.
News in Ankeny, Iowa, where we're about to watch the 2024 presidential campaign, well, snowball.
Hold on, switch the video. This is going to be more.
Hi there. Hi there. In the first contest of the 2024 presidential race, former President Trump proved that he can do what we've seen in the polls, at least in Iowa, winning by an historic margin here, more than 50% of the vote. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis pulled out a distant second place finish, 30 points back, with former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley right behind him. The closeness of that second place race is going to keep benefiting the former president as Haley and DeSantis focus their fire on each other. The next couple of contests do favor Haley. She has strong support in New Hampshire, where there are lots of independents who may lean her way. And then her home state of South Carolina comes next. Haley said last night she thinks she did well enough here in Iowa that with that runway ahead, she's made this a two-person race between herself and former President Trump. Ron DeSantis begs to differ. He said Iowa punched his ticket to keep going in this race. But he did bet big on Iowa, pouring in far more money and resources here than in any other state. His path will be a tough one. The former president sounded like a general election candidate last night. All three will now end tonight in New Hampshire. That's going to be the next big test. In Des Moines, Iowa, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And I'll find another clip shortly in a minute. Let me go ahead and end this presentation of that. But it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, a landslide. Of course, you have the other people running for the Republicans as well. But just from this one, it honestly, to me, looked like a clear view of like who was going to be running for the Republican Party already.
Yeah. Yeah, because in this particular situation, Nikki, for example, you know, if you stand outside and you just blow your breath out and you drop some grass or whatever, or a piece of paper, and you blow into it outside, it goes wherever you blow, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way she is. You know, I think she can be a good candidate, but she's not strong enough because she still has the mindset of not wanting to get my hands dirty. She doesn't want to get into the trenches. DeSantis is only going to put his foot into the water, but he's not going to put his whole body in. That's him. And those people show weakness to everyone else that they see. They see the flaws, you know, where you see Trump is going to go all in, balls in, right?
Because we already know from his past experience, he's very blunt and firm on everything that he believes or whatever goes in his head, even though regardless of how crazy it goes.
Right. And because he's balls in, is not too much of people like him. It's just that they respect him, you know, and he's not walking on eggshells and tiptoeing. Now, is there some good and bad to that? Of course, like anything else. You know, he's walking on people walk on eggshells every single day. So they're trying to live their life or the way they want to live through Trump. And that's where his strength lies because he's ballsy.
Wait a minute. I'm going to dissect this even more because I think I don't know if the audience caught what you just said. So basically, we have a lot of American citizens out there that want to say certain things or act in a certain way, but they see this person that basically represents of who they want to become. And for that, that's why they support the person so much.
In my opinion, I strongly believe that because think about it. Where does Trump come from? Money. Where does 99% of the people in America come from?
money.
Middle class to poor.
Mhm.
And technically, there is no such thing as a middle class, because if anybody believes that there's a middle class, you dumb as shit, because you don't understand the pyramid when it comes to finance. If you lose your check, and ain't got nothing to do with what you have in your savings on your money account, if you lose a paycheck, you will be struggling the same way as a poor person is struggling. So therefore, just because you had a better paying job does not mean anything. You are poor just as like the next person, but you say that you're middle class, and that is a stereotype or label that was put to make you think that you have moved up when you have not moved at all. You just have a little bit more money, but you have not moved a single level at all.
Okay, so with that much, I think this leads into this. I'm going to say what a lot of people are afraid to say. We are in this time period where we believe Republicans basically represent the dominant race, of course, and money, economy, and much more. And especially in our neighborhoods, we believe the Democratic Party represents those of more of social issues. I'm not going to say poor, because then that would degrade the people that support that party.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of social issues that are put in front nowadays when it comes to the Democratic Party. Now, with that said, before I let you loose, that is like in my opinion, the perspective of what I see America view of when it comes to these parties.
Mhm.
Now,
I
we
agree.
it at times. I think the cutoff period was, well, a big shift was the early 1990s, but people forget there was social changes and movements that came from the Republican Party during the slavery period, and especially during a lot of social.
You're absolutely correct.
A lot of
Because
people.
blacks were Republicans back then.
That's what I was getting to, because a lot of people quote a lot of these great historical figures and much more, and we're in this mindset. Well, I'm just gonna say the word. I'm just gonna say arrogant, because we haven't done our research and want to take in the fact of the past. Because I used one example for person, for example, Frederick Douglass, which has a lot of powerful quotes that I love today, and
Mhm.
African Americans love to quote all the time. He was Republican.
He sure was.
Go ahead.
He sure was. And that's the key in regards to why the government is the way it is, because we ignore the history and not understand the pattern, so we don't repeat the mistakes from the past and always making it the present and always making it part of the future. This is the problem that is constantly. Minorities or blacks were Republicans. Why? During that time, let's look at the history. During that time, we owned things. We were in Congress. We were representing our community. We did all of that as Republicans. During the time of Black Wall Street, all those people were Republicans. They were thriving. They were not trying to live off and on the government.
You just ruffled some people right there. I'm not gonna lie, you probably offended some people right there, because you realize that is the norm of today. And actually, you can get mad at me if you want to. People want to brag about that all the time, and I feel like it's disrespectful. And then on top of that, you lower your, not only, I'm not going to use worth, your capability, by saying like promoting like, oh, I got this funding from the government, and you're afraid to move past that to stand on your own. It's like there's this view, or I guess you can say attack in the air, where a person who works hard and established himself is now like considered a threat to a person who just wants to settle and just be provided on by government assistance.
See, what a lot of people don't understand, and I'm sorry if it's veering off the topic, but I'm in response to your statement. What a lot of people don't realize is very simple. When the Democratic Party came in and they were losing, when they were losing, they decided, well, let's offer some extra money or let's give them money, right?
Hmm.
It was already established in history that the best way to keep minorities or blacks down is by what? Keeping the husband or the fathers out of the what? The house.
Household. Yeah.
So how do you do that? You offer them money. So then black women can look at it and say, I don't need you. I'm being taken care of by the government because they're giving me all this money. So now the government is your husband. The government is your child's daddy. The government is the one that you sleeping with. The government.
You know they ain't ready for that.
So it's the government because you allow this to be. And then you have the nerves or the audacity to complain about you being jealous of somebody else that's succeeding because they are going forward and not sitting on their ass. They're not watching TV. They're not playing around on their phone. They're not shaking their ass on TikTok. They're not shaking their ass on Instagram. They're not doing anything of such unbecoming. They are moving forward to succeed. They're working hard in the present. So in the future, it's already written and they can sit on their ass then and enjoy the fruits of their labor because they sow good seeds and not bad seeds.
Okay, so before, like, because I want to show some more of the video clip, I think it's his victory speech, but I want to hit on this because I don't know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers. We now, because we're talking about government assistance and much more, but you have those that say like, well, I heard what you said about me shaking my tail and all that much more, but it's making me money and paying bills.
It sure is, but you're also losing your pride, your self-esteem, your worth, your value. So you basically giving all of that up just to shake your ass and look like a hoe.
You done piss some people off now. Let me try to find this clip because that is basically the movement of what's going on, especially
And
today.
majority of blacks or minority that are females, if you pick up a damn book and read and study, you always know a loophole. You always can find a loophole to get to where you need to be successful without having to do all of that. But because you've been brainwashed, because you believe everything you hear and not what you read and see and not trying to comprehend, you walk around being a dumbass.
Woo. Let me play this clip as we go ahead and be raw and basically piss some more people off, but it's all right. People need to hear it anyway. All right, here we go. Parts of Trump's the victory speech.
Well, I want to thank everybody. This has been some period of time, and most importantly, we want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all. What a turnout, what a crowd. And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing. It's practically never been like this. It's just so important. And I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to happen soon, too. It's going to happen soon. I want to thank some of the great people. We have so many senators. If I go through every name, we'll be here all night, and everybody's going to get angry at me. But the senators, the congressmen from Washington, they came down from all different states. I want to thank you very much. I want to congratulate Ron and Nikki for having a good time together. We're all having a good time together. And I think they both actually did very well. I really do. I think they both did very well. We don't even know what the outcome of second place is. And I see Carrie Lake. Congratulations, Carrie. Very good.
All right, so I'm gonna play a little bit more. I'm just breaking the pieces.
Well, before you do that, it's something that I noticed.
Go ahead, because I know you are very in the details. So go ahead.
And I noticed, I'm a big pattern person
Go
because
ahead.
patterns never lie. Words and actions lie to you.
All right.
Every time he speaks, and I want people to understand I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I'm all for the people, by the people, and then do them right. What I notice is when a person constantly repeats a word or a phrase over and over again, they are trying to convince themselves, to convince the audience of what they're saying. And he does it every single time. Now, when every single time that he speaks, he talks about people, but he never talks about the issues and how he plans to correct the issues. So when those that vote for Trump and a big Trump person, they only speak on what they think he's going to do. They never speak on what he said he's going to do specifically.
Whew.
Anybody can talk general and have you assume that one way or the other. But when someone is more direct and tell you exactly what they're going to do, then you have a clear view of exactly what's going to happen before it happens. Your take on it?
I am pretty much in agreement on that. I mean, I can't really say nothing to otherwise defer from that. We are definitely in a time period where we love to hear a lot of fantasy words and things like that. And going back to what we were saying earlier, not holding people accountable, because it's what stirs the people, gets the votes, and much more. And another thing too, I thought, and this is just my opinion, what I thought was interesting is his approach was a little bit different in this victory speech. Like usually in the past, he's very destructive or pretty much tearing down the other candidate. And I'm pretty sure you notice this too, is now he's like saying unity. What's your take on that?
Him using the word unity. It's a fad. And I give you an example. A person come up to you and say, I love you, but then they stab you in the back. A person says they love you because we're related. A person says, I love you because y'all had sex together. So which one really is it? See how the word is just thrown out.
Basically, what I'm getting is stand by your actions, not by what's coming out your mouth and words.
Exactly. And because American people respond on emotions and not what's up in their head, and they don't know the difference between their emotion and what's in their head, then this is why we always having problems on the Democratic side and we have problems on the Republican side. Because when your heart and your mind are not as one, and there's a conflict between the two, when you really know yourself, and that's the other part of the other ingredient to this issue, is the fact that American people really, as an individual, really don't know themselves as well as they say and they think. Because if they did, a lot of the actions and things that's taking place in the world and right now would not be done by those individuals.
Let's play a little bit more of the clip. Let's see what else he's going to say, something interesting, and then we're going to go even more further.
I spotted her, I have to announce, because she's terrific. She's going to be a senator, a great senator, I predict, right? Going to be a great senator. And I also want to congratulate Vivek, because he did a hell of a job. He came from zero, and he's got a big percent, probably 8%, almost 8%, and that's an amazing job. They all did. They're all very smart people, very capable people. I think most importantly, I want to thank my incredible wife, First Lady, I'll say former and maybe future, But more important than Melania, I want to thank her incredible, beautiful mother who passed away a few days ago. And she's up there, way up there. She's looking down and she's so proud of us. And I just want to say to Amalia, you are special, one of the most special people I've ever known. And that was a tough period of time for the family, but she's amazing. She was amazing. So I just want to thank what she's done for our family and her husband, who's home right now and very lonely.
Chris,
He's a lonely man, but he's going to be okay.
Yep.
there's one thing that I noticed in this. He speaks about his mother-in-law. And he points like he's pointing to heaven. But yet and still, he never mentions the word God. He never mentions it. He just points. Now, at the same time, everyone wants to believe and think their family member is going to heaven. No, not every family member is going to heaven, because if you look at their deeds, were their deeds good or were their deeds bad?
It's a hard pill to swallow.
So he never mentions, but he makes himself appear as if he's a man of faith. But he never says the word God. It's all the small things that give you a bigger picture. It's not the big picture that gives you the small things. And people work or look at stuff differently in that manner.
Definitely. All right, so I want to go more back. I think that's enough for that. If you want to look at the victory speech, you can correspond on YouTube. But it just shows to me, in my opinion, of like how it will continue to go for this election, and much more of how to sway the American people, and then how a lot of American citizens don't like to take accountability and want the government to basically save themselves without putting any work in for themselves, or do the work in their own local community. Of course, I know the national level is very important, but in my my belief, I feel like it all starts at home. And then when I say home, I mean your own community, your backyard, and much more. So what I'm seeing is we're about to go back into this fad of the hoorah, splitting of the people, Democrat or Republican, and people going for a bunch of nonsense that really has no kind of impact for the life, so the person who's running can get what they need. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's about right, and it's a bigger picture. That's part of the bigger picture, and the other part of the bigger picture is very simple. While we're acting a fool, Democrats and Republicans, and we being selfish, and we voting selfish people in these parties, and they're not looking out for the people, they're looking out for them. Because how in the hell you are like me, you run for office, you in office 4 years, for example, you get out and you making six figures, are you a millionaire? But what have you done for the American people, all the people in your community that you're representing? But while that's being done, the bickering over who's going to get more money and whatever else they're doing behind the scenes, it's allowing our enemies to look at us, laugh at us, and strategically plan to attack us by whatever means they see there is a weakness. It's a bigger picture, but it's those small things that create a big problem in the future and in the present.
So as we pretty much finish up this show, I want to ask you this and get your own honest opinion. And do you think, as strong as Trump is running so far, and I know this is the beginning, do the Democrats have a candidate that may be anywhere strong enough to counter that at all? Because the way that people are saying, this is just what I'm hearing a lot of times, not only through in-person vlogs and social media, much more, is a lot of people don't want another person like Biden into the pretty much the White House, because they're saying that he's not fit, too old, and making a lot of mistakes, and they feel like it's an embarrassment. Does that hurt? Yes, but do you think the Democratic Party can get someone else to go and counter this?
I'm sure that there is someone that they may have, but who they have is not the right person. Who they have does not have the balls to stand up and go against Trump. The person that they have does not and will not get their hands dirty and go into the trenches. And what I mean by get downright and dirty, just as dirty as Trump. Trump is from New York. They get dirty.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah.
So he will not get dirty with Trump. That's one thing to say is that when you messing with a crazy person, you have to make the crazy person know and realize you just as crazy.
That's crazy.
You're crazier than them. And Democrats do not have anyone on that level. And if they do, they're not pushing them to the forefront. They are trying to be so politically correct to the point where it is damaging the country financially, emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
So as we come to a close, any closing thoughts? And I know, like, again, this is the beginning of the election, landslide in Iowa, but any closing thoughts of what you're seeing here today?
All I'm seeing here today is simple. Pay attention to the patterns. When you pay attention to the patterns, it tells a story. Stop going off what people's words are. Stop going off people, what they try to convince you. Excuse me. Pay attention to the action. Pay attention to the patterns. The patterns are more important than the action, and the action is more important than their words. That's it. And be truthful of what you see and not what you want to see.
Well said. So thank you again for being a great and wonderful guest on the show and giving your insight. It's your host, Chris Holmes, as always, and I have my special guest by the name of
the JASSIEM Jasim.
Hey, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, and keep the discussion always ongoing, because
you do that.
We the people can make a change in this country, and this time
That's
we
right.
have our voice heard. So keep the discussion going, keep talking, and keep watching these videos. Peace out.
That's right. Peace.